All right, guys, good morning. As you can see on the screen, today is Wednesday. So your assignment for today will be to complete your test review in class today. On Friday, which is next class, you guys will submit your test review and then take your test, followed by a 4-day weekend. Okay, so what you should have done at this point that the video is starting is pick up a test review and calculator, take your seat. Watch the example video as a class and follow along, completing your review as we work through examples in the video. The substitute will be in charge of pushing play. Please be respectful. Let's keep talking to a minimum. The video won't be that long, so that hopefully everyone is able to sort of understand what's going on before their test on Friday. Lastly, your test review will be due Friday when you take your test. I think I already said that, but I'd like to just repeat it to make sure that no one missed that. So go ahead and take a look at your test review. The first page you'll notice is mostly simplifying. So let's go ahead and take a look, please, at number 3. Okay, first thing that I notice here is that I have a number on the outside. Remember, whenever a number is on the outside of the parentheses, you're going to have to multiply that into every term inside. So numbers multiply with numbers. So I would do 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. And then I'm just going to keep the letters attached, H, K, minus. Next term I'm multiplying is 4 times -7. So I can multiply that right here. 4 times -7 gives me -28. Then notice that the 4 didn't have any letters, neither did the 7. So when I combine them, they still don't have any letters. Second term, I have a 2h that I'm going to multiply into the second parentheses. So remember, numbers with numbers. So 2 times 3, that's a 6. And then I have an h and a k, so I'll just keep those together. 2h times 1. Remember the number with the number, so 2 times 1 is 2, and then the h just kind of tags along. Okay, from there you can only combine like terms. Combine like terms. And remember that like terms means that they have to have the exact same letter part. So for example, I have an 8hk here. And I have a 6hk here. So those can be combined. Then I would do 8 plus 6. 8 plus 6. And that gives me 14hk. Then for these 2 remaining parts right here, I notice that I have a -28. And I have a plus 2h. Okay, those cannot be combined. Notice I'm underlining those in different colors because they don't have the same letter. This one has an H, that one doesn't. So I just have the -28 and the plus 2H. Okay, let's go down, take a look at the question right below it. Question right below it, we have a -6g on the outside, so we're going to distribute that into the parentheses. Remember, numbers with numbers, so that'd be -6 times 2. That gives me a -12. And then if I have a g times another g, that's going to make it g squared. Next term, I have a -6 times a 4. That's going to give me -24. But then notice that the 6 had a g, but the 4 doesn't, so I would just keep that g part exactly the same. Okay, lastly on that, I have a -3g. I'm going to distribute that. Do make sure that this negative is a part of the 3. So when you times that 3 in, it's actually a -3. Also remember that here in front of this g, if there's not a number there, that counts as a 1. So I would do -3 times 1 for the number part. So -3 times 1 is -3. And then I have a g and then another g, that makes it a g squared. Next, I have a -3 times a -1. That gives me a +3. And then remember that since my original 3 on the outside already had a G, I'm just gonna keep that. The reason it will not go up to a squared is because the 1 does not also have a G. So in the first step, you're multiplying. Now we're gonna combine like terms. And remember that like terms are gonna be the parts that have the exact same letter. So for example, I have a negative 12G squared and a negative 3G squared. So in the calculator, remember, combine like terms, you're adding. So I would do negative 12 plus negative 3. That gives me negative 15G squared. Then for my second 2 values, I notice that both of these have a G. So I have a minus 24G and a plus 3G. So I'm going to add those up. I get negative 21G. Okay, also notice that in the calculator, I'm not putting the letter G in here at all. You're only adding those numbers that are in the front. Okay. All right, then for numbers 5 and 6. Okay, these are both going to be box method. Okay, but I do want you, oh, sorry, let me let you write that. Okay, these are both going to be box method for 5 and 6. But I do want you to adjust these problems a little bit. So for this first one, I want you to knock out the 4x squared and just make it a 2x plus 4. And for this one, take out the y squared. So now the equation should read 3x plus 5 and then 2x plus 4. Okay, it is possible to do box method on a longer parentheses like that, but since we haven't covered those in class, I don't want to put it on your review or on your test. So we'll kind of circle back to that in a little bit. So draw your box. Remember that the first term is going to go across the top. The second term is going to go across the bottom. So my 3x plus 5 is going to go up here. My 2x plus 4 is going to go down here. Remember, at the beginning, you are multiplying. A box method is a multiply. So I'm doing 2x times 3x. 2 times 3 is 6. X times x is x squared. Then I'm going to take my 2x and times it by my 5. So 2x times 5, now that's a 10x. Then I'm going to come down to the 4. 4 times 3x is a 12x. And then 4 times 5 is a 20. Okay, then remember from there, your diagonal should end up with like terms. So I have a 10x and a 12x. Those can be combined. So I'm going to now combine like terms. And remember, combining like terms is adding. Okay, that's a plus sign right there. So in the calculator, I'm going to do 12 plus 10. That gives me 22x. Okay, so I have my 6x squared from the front. My 22x's that I just combined, plus my 20. All right, just like that, the first page is done. Go ahead and turn the page when you're ready. The next page we're going to work on is factoring. Factoring is when you're doing that big X with the ABC that we've learned the last couple of days. So we're going to go ahead and work down the left side this time. So go ahead and take a look at number 7, please. First thing I want to do is label my ABC. And then remember, in my X, I'm multiplying AC at the top, air conditioner in the attic, basement at the bottom. Now, if my A in the front is missing, remember that means that it's a 1 there. So then I'm going to do 1 times 12, 1 times 12, and 1 times 12 in the calculator is still 12. So that's my AC number up top, oops, 12. Okay, and then my basement number needs to go to the bottom. My basement number is an 8. Then remember from here in the calculator, you're gonna put y equals 12 divided by x into the calculator if your number here is a 12. If your number were different, you'd put whatever that other number is. So I'm going into y equals here. I'm gonna put 12 divided by x, just like that. Okay, then second graph. Notice I'm not gonna start with 0 because it's an error. I'm gonna start with 1. So I have 1, 12. Then I have 2, 6. Next one is 3, 4. And then after 3, 4 comes 4, 3. And remember, as soon as you hit a repeat, you can stop there. Okay, I need my numbers to add to an 8. Now remember, the reason I know I'm adding here is because the 12 at the top is positive. So I'm going to look through my numbers and see which one adds to 8. 1 plus 12 is 13. I don't want that. 2 plus 6, ooh, that's 8. So then I'm going to circle my 2 and my 6 and put them in parentheses with the letter in the question. So normally it's an X, but you can see here that this time it's an M. So I'll do M plus 2 and M plus 6. Okay, then if your A is a 1, you're done. So I'm looking right here, my A is a 1. That means I'm done. Okay. All right. Next one we're going to do is number 9, right below that. Okay, so I want you to remember that what we just learned last class is that any time that all of your numbers can divide by the same thing, you should do it. You only do this step if every single number can divide. So for example, on number 9, 2, 18, and 36, these are all even numbers. So what that means is that these can all divide evenly by 2. Okay, and so what you can do is just divide each number by 2, and if they all go, then you have to do it. So 2 divided by 2 is a 1y squared. 18 divided by 2 is a 9y. And 36 divided by 2 is an 18. Then A, B, C. Set up your X, AC at the top. I'm going to do 1 times 18. Remember, you're multiplying those. 1 times 18 is 18. So 18 is going to go at the top of my chart. My basement goes in the bottom, which is a 9. So my basement number is 9. Then I'm going to go through all of the possible options that will multiply to 18 using my list. So in the calculator, I'm going to put y equals. My number this time is an 18 divided by x. Okay, make sure you're typing this into the calculator to kind of remember how to go through it. So I see I have a 1 with an 18. Let's go ahead and write that down. Next one I have is a 2 with a 9. And then the next one I have is a 3 with a 6. Now, after 3 with a 6, notice that 4 and 5 both have decimal partners. Okay, we don't want any decimals. And then my next partner is 6, 3. And 6, 3 is a repeat of 3, 6. Okay, then I'm looking for numbers that are going to add because this is a positive. And they need to add to give me 9. So 1 plus 18 is 19. I don't want that. 2 and 9 make 11. But 3 and 6, ding, 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 those give me 9. So I would do y plus 3 and y plus 6. Okay, then remember, if your a is a 1, you're done. So I'm looking right here, I see my a is a 1, that means I'm done. Now, there's one other thing you want to remember. In the very front, if you divided everything by the same number, you really should keep that as part of your answer. So remember here, when we divided everything by 2, then I'm just going to keep that 2 there in the front. Okay. All right, take a look at number 11. Last factoring question we're going to do together today. Number 11, I have an A, a B, and a C. And then actually, let me talk about one more thing here. If you weren't sure about doing this divide by 2 step, then just try it and see if you could. So if I do 2 divided by 2, that would be allowed. Okay, but what if I tried to divide this number here that's missing is a -1. So what if I do -1 by 2? That's going to give me a decimal. So that tells me, okay, I'm not going to try to divide these out unless everybody can do it. Also, the 15 can't divide by 2 either. So if you're getting decimals here, that means you're ready to go straight to ABC. All right. So A, B, C, let's set up our X. AC in the attic, B in the basement. My A is a 2 times my C is a -15. So 2 times -15, that gives me -30. My basement number at the bottom is a -1. Then remember from there, okay, you want to go into your y equals and put this number divided by x. Okay, you also should remember that you do not want to include the negative. So just do 30 divided by x. Okay. Let's pull our numbers. I have 1 and 30. 2 and 15. 3 and 10. 4 is with a decimal, but 5 and 6 are my last partner. And then how do I know it's my last partner? Because the next partners are 6 and 5. Okay, from there, we're looking for the numbers that subtract this time. How do I know that? Because that number for the AC is negative. So if it's a negative, this is a subtraction chart. So 30 minus 1 gives me 29, but my basement number is a 1. So I do not want 30 and 1. What about 15 minus 2? Okay, 15 minus 2, that gives me 13. What do I want? Oh, I want a 1, so I don't want that. 10 minus 3. 10 minus 3 gives me 7. I don't want that. 6 minus 5, that gives me 1. Now, notice that I want a -1, so I'm going to put the negative on the bigger side over here. Okay, so let's put negative on bigger number to keep B in negatives. Okay, if you want to make that little note for yourself, go ahead and do it. Okay, versus if I wanted my B to be positive, I'd put the negative on the smaller of the two numbers. Okay, so from there, my letter here is an X, so I'm going to do X plus 5. And X minus 6. Now, you're only 1 and done if your A is a 1. So I look back at my A here and I see that this time my A is a 2. That means we're going to have to divide or slide. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. And then I'm going to see, can these numbers divide by 2 evenly or can they not? So let's see, 5 divided by 2 gives me a decimal. Then I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to slide that one. So that's going to go to a 2x plus 5. Then I come to my second parentheses. I have a -6 that can divide by 2, and it gives me a -3. So that would be x minus 3. All right, go ahead and take one last look at that. Make sure that you got all that copied down. Okay, I also will post this in Focused under your messages. If you need to go back and reference this video again, you can also email me for it if you don't know how to check your messages in Focus. All right, go ahead and turn the page. We are getting there. Okay, 13 and 14, you're given tables and you're asked to find the zeros. So let's do number 13. So your zeros, okay, are going to be where the y is the 0. So I want this one, -1, 0. And I want this one, which is 4, 0. Now you'll notice that there is another 0 in your chart. Okay, you have a 0, -4, but that's the y-intercept. And so if we're looking for the x-intercepts, then we want the y's to be in this value here. So the 0 needs to be your second number, okay? All right, now it says write your equation in factored form. So I'm going to take whatever this number is here, and I'm going to reverse it to put it in parentheses. So for example, if it's a -1, I'm going to put x plus 1. And then if it's a +4, I'm going to put x minus 4. So remember that the signs are always reversed when you go into your parentheses. Okay, that is called factored form. And then to go from factored form to standard form, you're going to do box method. So I'm going to set up my box down here. I have an x plus 1 across the top. I have an x minus 4 down the side. Remember, box method means multiply. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. -4 times x is -4x. And then -4 times 1 gives me -4. Then just like that first page, we're going to combine like terms down the diagonal. Okay, remember when you're combining like terms, you're adding. So I would do -4 plus 1. That gives me -3. So remember you're combining like terms there. Combine like terms. So y equals x squared comes first. -3x comes second. And then my -4 here comes third. So you're going to start it off in factored form, which means you have your parentheses. And then you're going to finish it off to be in standard form. Okay, go ahead and take a look at that, see if that all makes sense. So 13 and 14 are very similar. Now we're moving on to the back side of that page, please. Okay, we're going to do number 16. So if you'll take a look at number 16. Okay, we're looking for the zeros. Remember that zeros are the same as x-intercepts. So for example, if this is my x-axis right here, then I want to know, where does this touch the x-axis? So I see the dot is right there, I just have to count back to it. So that's -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -6, 0. Now, a lot of times, like on the question right before this, you're going to have 2 answers. Okay, but notice that for this one, it only touches at that one spot. So I'm not going to put a second one. And remember that what that means is that if you have this hitting twice, that means that you have a double zero. Because you got the same answer 2 times. So for the factored form, we're gonna do y equals parentheses, parentheses. And if it crosses at a -6, then remember, we're always putting the opposite of that in parentheses. So if it's a -6 here, then I'm gonna switch this to a +6. And then since that's the only answer, that means it's a double zero, then I'll just put +6 again. Okay, then from there, you're gonna get your answer into standard form. Remember, you're gonna do box method to achieve that. So let's go ahead and just do it real quick here. So box with your little breakdowns, x plus 6 across the top, x plus 6 down the side. X times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. Then I move down to my bottom row is a 6. 6 times x is 6x. And then 6 times 6, you can put that into the calculator here. Okay, 6 times 6 is 36. Then from there, remember, we're always combining this diagonal where my like terms are. So for my final answer, it's going to be y equals x squared comes first. 6 plus 6 is going to give me 12x. Notice I'm not putting x in the calculator. And then my 36 here. All right, very last page, you are almost done. Okay, the last page asks you to draw quadratics with either 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no solutions. So I'm going to go ahead and turn to that last page. This should just take a second. 2 solutions means that your graph needs to cross the x-axis 2 times. So if I want to cross the x-axis twice, I need to make sure that I go down through the x-axis and then back up through the x-axis. So I would have 2 spots that I cross. Now, what if I want only 1 solution? Well, then I need to make sure that I only cross the x-axis once. And the only way to do that is when you have a double root, like that question that we just looked at. So if I want to just touch the x-axis once, I'm going to just kind of like, boop, touch it, and then go back up. So that you only end up with 1 intersection with the x-axis. Okay, the last option is that your graph could have no solutions. That means that it cannot cross the x-axis. And so if I'm looking for my graph to not cross the x-axis, then maybe I just want to kind of keep it up here. Okay, where it kind of like swoops down towards it, but then it doesn't make it, and then it goes back up. Okay. All right, so you have the rest of class to go through and finish the rest of the review. You're welcome to work with your table. Okay, I will have tutoring after school on Thursday. And then your test is on Friday after school. Thursday for tutoring. And then your test is Friday. Okay, don't forget that your review that you're working on today, that is for a grade. It is not optional. If you don't do it, you'll get a 0. So please use your time wisely. Mr. Rich should be here for 5th and 7th period to help you if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day. Please be good for your sub. Also, reminder to our substitute, please do not let students use the restroom without turning in their cell phone first. 1 kid can go to the restroom at a time. And please record any too long bathroom breaks. Y'all have a great day.